Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the BlueJeans videocast series. Today, we're going to be discussing the topic of putting a face on your company events. Here at BlueJeans, we've definitely seen a shift in the last few years with video becoming not just the norm, but really the expectation. And so we truly believe that all large events should have an interactive video component to them. So to discuss that topic further today, we have a couple of great speakers on the docket. We have David Maldo, founder and CEO of Let's Do Video. And we also have Jeff Beckham, who is a product marketing manager here at BlueJeans and oversees our Primetime event platform. So we're going to get to them in just a minute. There's just a few housekeeping items that I want to go over quickly. Speaking of Primetime, we are actually using the BlueJeans Primetime event platform today. So if you are in the audience tuning in, you are experiencing Primetime right now. We're going to have the speakers come on, and then we're also going to have some Q&A at the end. So if you would like to ask a question during the Q&A period, we have a couple options for doing that. On the right-hand side of your screen, you should see a couple of icons. There's a hand icon that you can click to raise your hand. That'll notify our moderator that you would like to ask a question over video, and they will promote you in the order received. Or if you would like to ask a question over the chat, there are two chat dialogue icons on the side, a single chat icon dialogue, which is the event chat. So submit your question there. And if you have any technical difficulties, please submit your question through the moderator chat, which is the other dialogue icon you see there on the right-hand side. So with that being said, I won't delay any further. Let's get to the speakers. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to David.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here today, and thank you everyone for joining me. I am particularly excited about today's webcast. We're going to be talking about a new way to do videocasts, fully interactive face-to-face. Usually when I give these webcasts, I talk about a new trend, a new technology, but today we're actually using the platform and we're going to do it. So please stick with me to the end. I want to see some of you on video. I hope some of you are brave enough to jump up on stage with me and talk to me face-to-face. I think we're going to have a lot of fun here today. So let me start off really quick. A little bit about myself. My name is David Maldo. I'm the founder and CEO of Let's Do Video. We're a news site covering video conferencing, video collaboration, everything I put under the umbrella of business video. I've been covering this space for about 10 years. Prior to founding Let's Do Video, I was managing partner at Telepresence Options, one of the leading publications in the space, where I wrote over 150 pieces of public-facing content. Prior to that, I was at Wainhouse Research, an analyst firm, where among other responsibilities, I managed the video conferencing test lab. And that's where I got to make all the test calls, learn about the speeds and feeds and protocols, everything that makes it work behind the scenes, but always with an eye for the user experience. So enough about me, let's jump right in. On this slide, we see a visualization of the traditional trade-off in internet communications. We have our video conferencing world, and we have our webcasting world. In video conferencing, we've always been great at making engaging solutions with a lot of interaction, that face-to-face dynamic, but it never scaled up big. It's always been for small meetings. Typical video conferencing session connects maybe 2 to 5 different locations. On the webcasting side of it, we've done a great job of scaling up. It's an amazing tool for sending out information to hundreds or even thousands of people, but it's typically a one-way presentation, not a lot of interaction. And that leaves us with the gap that you see at the top right. Large-scale, interactive events just simply haven't existed up till now. And that's what we're going to be doing here today. So we're going to take a few minutes, look at the video conferencing side of the table, look at the webcasting side of the table, and see what we've learned over the years, and then pull it all together. So starting with video conferencing. Here we have the typical real-life, in-person meeting dynamic. And this is what video conferencing is trying to recreate, that across-the-table feeling, eye-to-eye, face-to-face, back and forth. This is where work gets done. This is where the magic happens. This is the productivity engine, and this is what we're trying to recreate. And actually, we've done a pretty good job of it. In the screenshot to the right, you'll see a typical video conferencing meeting experience. The gentleman, if it was full screen, he would be about the right size. His eyes are positioned at the right height. And he's sitting at his desk in his office. In fact, if I was to meet with him in his office, I would be pretty much seeing the same thing. The biggest difference is on video, I can't smell his cologne, which could be a good or a bad thing. Now, a quick break. I know some of the things we're going to talk about here today might be obvious, or you may have heard it before, but I just want to get it out of the way because I want to give you some real value from my experience in the field. So we all know about the value of video conferencing, the benefits, the productivity, reducing travel. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I just want to give one quick example. In my mind, the most dreaded words to hear in business are, "I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I wasn't listening." We've all heard it, and even worse, we've all had to say it. And sure, sometimes it happens in that in-person meeting. Sometimes you really get distracted. Sometimes it happens on video, but not often. On the phone, it happens all the time. You're talking and talking and talking, and all of a sudden the person says, I really wasn't listening. Can you repeat it? So that's all I'm going to say about the benefits of video conferencing, the stuff you know. Now, I want to share something from my experience from 10 years of following this field. Everything that we've done that's been a success for us as a video conferencing industry has been about recreating what you saw on the slide before, that real dynamic. Every big advance that's gotten us a buzz and been a big sales boost or a big adoption booster has been something that helped recreate that face-to-face feeling. High resolution has always been a big deal in our industry. Every time we increase the resolution, we increase the natural look of that face-to-face experience, and sales go up and people love it. Anything we've done to increase the motion handling, so when I move around, it doesn't get all pixely and weird. It's always been great for sales, great for the industry. Anything to make the audio better, fix the eye contact, anything we can do to make it a more natural experience has been a winner for video conferencing. Now, the ultimate example is telepresence. Back 5 or 6 years ago, telepresence was a big deal in our industry. It got a lot of buzz because it did a great job of bringing that illusion that you're in the same room. And we went to amazing lengths to make that happen. Sometimes, and you know what I'm talking about, the big 3-screen solutions, the big expensive solutions. Sometimes they'll even take the boardroom table, cut it in half, ship half of it to Los Angeles, half of it to New York, so that the people are literally meeting across the same table. They'll use the same chairs, paint the walls the same color, go to these extreme lengths. And these telepresence solutions, they're expensive. They took millions of dollars to develop, hundreds of thousands of dollars to purchase, tens of thousands of dollars to operate. And the companies that can afford them, they say it was worth every penny, because that's how valuable that in-person meeting experience is. Even if we look at the latest big trend in this space, virtual meeting rooms, not so much about the face-to-face, but it's about that real-life meeting dynamic. I mean, think about it. If I want to meet with you in my conference room, what do? I send you an email. It has directions on how to get to the room and the time. And at the right time, we jump in the room and have our meeting. How do we do it with the virtual meeting room? I send you an email with a link to the room and a time, and at the right time, we jump in the meeting. It's that same dynamic, so we love it, and that's why it's so popular. Now, I put this in to have a little fun. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it does make a point. And this picture is taken from a YouTube video, a funny YouTube video about video conferencing. And the point is, the same point I was making a minute ago about telepresence. We will go to extreme lengths, maybe not quite this far, but we will go to extreme lengths to recreate the natural sitting across the desk feeling because it's so important and it's so valuable. So that's enough about the small meetings. Let's shift over to big meetings. Here we have the classic town hall. And this is the lifeblood of big businesses. They spend a lot of money flying people in for these. And the reason is it's important, it's valuable, because there's two kinds of employees, an engaged employee and a not so engaged employee. And we all know the not so engaged employee, he shows up or she shows up at 9:01 and they're a zombie until 5 o'clock. They're just looking at the clock, waiting for the day to end, doing as little work as they can do to not get in trouble. And then at 5:01, they come alive. That's when they become themselves. That's when their days start. An engaged employee, they're not looking at the clock. They're not just doing their work so that they don't get in trouble. They're proud of their work. They can't wait to get this project done, to show it to their colleagues and show it to their clients. And not just so that they do well as an individual, They want the company to do well because they're engaged. So how do you get your employees engaged? You engage them. Like the old expression, the first rule of tautology club is the first rule of tautology club. Well, the way to get employees engaged is to engage them. And that's why the corporate town hall has been so important to us. It gives us that face-to-face interaction. True, and when I say true dialogues on the right there, what I mean by that is it's not just enough that when you ask your question, if I'm a presenter, I see your face to get the full context. That's great. I want to see your face when I respond. I want to see your reaction to my answer so that I know I'm doing a good job and I know I'm giving the full impact. That's what we get in the real life town hall. So how has that worked out? Our goal has been to translate that into the virtual sphere the way we translated the small meetings to the virtual sphere. And unfortunately, we haven't done as good of a job. Here is the traditional corporate webcast. It's PowerPoint. Sometimes we don't even bother to take it out of presentation mode. You're just looking at raw PowerPoint. No face-to-face interaction. Sometimes no video at all. Sometimes we're just a voice hiding behind a slide deck. Now, don't get me wrong. Corporate webcasts are a wonderful, amazing technology. I mean, there's no better way to get information out to hundreds or thousands of people. And PowerPoints are great. I mean, it's one of the most amazing tools we've ever came up with, a great way to keep on track during a presentation. But it lacks that impact that we're looking for. As an attendee, I'm sure you've all been there, watching a presentation, checking your email, not paying attention. It's hard to stay engaged when it's just a one-way event. And as a presenter, it's even worse. And I'm assuming a lot of you are here because you either present webcasts or support webcasts, and you know how much hard work goes into it. You know the preparation, you know the stress, and to go through that much work and not get the impact you're looking for, it's really disappointing. And I want to get real with you for a minute. I'm assuming that on your screen somewhere you're seeing a little picture-in-picture of me. I want you to look at that for a minute. I don't want you to look at the slide deck. You might even be able to grab an edge of it of your mouse and make it a little bit bigger if you want to. But I want to talk to you face-to-face for a second. You are not just a random audience, like I walked into a park and started talking to a random bunch of people. If you signed up to see this, you're a video person. You're here because you want to learn more about webcasting or video conferencing or something in the space. I don't want to be a voice behind a slide deck because we have something in common. I'm a video person too. I'm a real person. My name is David. My job is to be an expert on this stuff, and I love it. I think it's cool. I love writing about it. I love talking about it. I love talking to users and getting their stories about how it's working for them in the workplace. This is who I am, and this is what I do. And we have something in common. Well, I don't want to present to you. I want to connect with you. I want you to bookmark my website. I want you to follow me on Twitter. And if you see my name come across your newsfeed in a few months or few weeks, I don't want you to think, David Maldo, that name's a little familiar. I think he gave an informative presentation. I should watch it. I want you to think, oh, it's David. I know him. We have something in common. We share something in common. We're connected. I'll spend some time with David again. That's what I'm going for. And it's a lot easier to get that if I'm a person and not a voice hiding behind a slide deck. Now, I know we spent a lot of time on this slide, but I think it's really important. Just a couple more points. One is the quote that's in the slide within a slide about wasting $300 million per day. I didn't pull that number out of the air. I extrapolated it from a Wall Street Journal article that was calculating how much time, how much employee time we spend preparing and presenting these webcasts. It's $300 million a day. That's a lot of money to waste on low impact presentations. And my final thought, the italicized quote at the bottom, it's a line from a white paper that I wrote on this topic, which I think you'll be getting at the end. It is a little bit more information on everything. And it really makes the point. My problem with the corporate webcast, it's not just that it's missing a few features. It's not just that it's lacking interactivity. It's that it completely fails to give you that feeling of being there in a real town hall like you saw on the slide before. So it's so obvious we're doing it wrong. Why are we doing it wrong? Well, you got to give us a break. It's been hard enough to get where we are. The technology barriers that we had to solve just to make video conferencing work, just to make webcasting work, were amazing. And I'm not going to go through all the buzzwords you see in front of you, but these are all problems that we had to get through, and they were not easy. If you think of it, it's almost magical that it works at all. This camera is capturing millions of pixels, wrapping it all up in a way that it could ship it through the internet, where it gets to your screen, which somehow unwraps it, puts each and every pixel in the exact right place, and it does that 30 times every second. It really is almost magic, and it's amazing that we've gotten this far. But the good news is, we've won. We've demystified video. We've eliminated the technology barriers. If you look at today's hardware, we all knew hardware was going to be great by 2015, but I didn't think it was going to be this affordable and easy to use. There's some pictures of some modern cameras here. They're USB, they're plug and play, they're easy, and they work, and they look great. So the hardware is what we want it to be, and the software is even more impressive. We've gotten so good at video conferencing software. The way I explain it is, it's gotten so good that we've gone from making video conferencing a product that we've now made video conferencing a feature. And to explain what I mean by that, back when I worked at Wayne House, if you wanted to do video conferencing, you had to buy a product. You bought a box. It was called a codec. You plug your camera and whatnot into it. And it had all this specialized hardware in it, these super powerful chips and all these fans, and they were designed to work specifically with the software. And that software only worked with that one box. It was a locked down product, and that was the only way you were doing video conferencing. Now video conferencing a feature. Social media platforms, they just add video. We've gotten great at it. And for those of us who are looking to get more impact out of our presentations, that's amazing for us because it means we could finally use video the way we want to use video. But technology is only half the story. You have your technology and you have your people. So let's look at the people. Are we a video culture yet? I would argue that we are, more than I even thought we would be by this time. If you look at today's video share sites, YouTube and Vimeo, it's not just the extroverts. It's not just the show-offs and celebrities. It's all of us. Regular people use video all the time. I think a big part of it is we're all walking around with high-quality video conferencing cameras in our pockets all day. But the fact is, we're a video culture. Your puppy learns a new trick, you take a video up, and you put it up on YouTube and share it with your friends. It's even gone beyond the video sites. If you look at our social media sites, you go to FaceTime or Twitter, you scroll up and the videos just start playing at you. You don't even have to click play, they're there. And I'm not following any celebrities on FaceTime. These are my friends, they're regular people. Now we're even getting into the next level, the next generation of these video platforms like Meerkat and Periscope. It's live video. So we are a video culture. We don't have to wait anymore. So we have the technology. We're a video culture. Why are we still doing it wrong? I think the next slide exemplifies that. There's something called cultural lag, and it's best expressed through this picture on the right, which is something called the Horsey Horseless. This is an actual product. It was really designed in the 1890s. Cars were new. They were calling them horseless carriages. And there was one gentleman who just thought it was too strange to drive down the street on a cart without looking at the back of a horse's head. He didn't want to be that guy. He couldn't handle the change. So he designed this. And it's ridiculous. It's silly. In fact, this picture is commonly used on the internet as an example of a silly product. Now, intellectually, I know this is ridiculous. I know it's silly. But in my gut, I understand why he did it. I understand that feeling of being afraid of change. We all get it. And today, there's real reason to be afraid of change. We have apps and new tools and new technologies coming at us left and right all day long. We don't have time to learn them all. And if we spend a month becoming a master of something new, and then it's not the next big thing, we've wasted that month and no one could waste any time. So I get it and I respect it. As an old expression I recently heard at the Infocom show, but it's been around for a while. And it says, pioneers take the arrows, but settlers take the land. We all want to be a settler. No one wants to be a pioneer. That's fair. But the great news is, when it comes to video conferencing, the pioneers have done their job. And if there's any early adopters or early pioneers out there, thank you. Thank you so much for helping us get to where we are. Thank you for sticking with us in the days when the 3 o'clock video conferencing meeting started at 3:17 because no one could connect, and then it would drop, and it would be pixelated, and no one could see what's going on. Thank you for helping us get the bugs out. But the good news is, not only is it reliable, It's been reliable for a few years. It's not new anymore. We've tested it. We've been using it. We're in settler territory. You don't have to worry about looking silly, trying something new. You don't have to worry about taking the arrows. You can be a settler. The only question is, are you ready to lose the horse and drive your car down the street? So again, we're ready with the technology. We're a video culture. We don't want to be a horsey horseless. Is there anything else preventing us from doing it? One more thing. Sometimes we have the tools, but we just don't know how to use them right. And this is another fun slide. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I just want to keep things light and fun. But it does make a very important point. Now, the gentleman on the left was handed an umbrella and told, this is a tool you can use so you don't get wet in the rain. Kind of doing the job for him. Be a lot more effective if he popped it open, but he's not using the tool correctly. The gentleman on the right, he just wants to watch the game without getting the sun in his eyes. And okay, it's kind of clever, that cardboard thing he came up with. If only his hat had the technology. Oh wait, it does. It's called a visor. He just needs to turn it around. How silly are these guys? Now I want you to remember these pictures. And the next time you're watching a slide deck or presenting a slide deck without interaction, you should think that you're just as silly as these guys, because now we have the tools and we just have to use them. So let's bring it all home. What should the new virtual town hall look like compared to the webcast of the past? It should look like a real in-person meeting. It should mimic that face-to-face experience where you get the real connection, everything we're talking about. Again, I want to make this point. It's not enough to read a question and answer it. It's not even enough to see the person asking the question. I want to see their face when I respond so that I know I gave the right response, so that I know I'm being effective. Now, we've been focusing on the virtual town hall. I think that's going to be the real big use here, but there's some other use cases. I'm a little hesitant to even show this slide because I don't want you to think that we're limited here. In fact, when we have a technology like this that's so flexible, once it gets out in the wild, a lot of times the users will come up with things that we haven't even considered yet. And that's a lot of fun. And I think that's going to happen here. And I'm really excited to see it. But meanwhile, we could spend a minute talking about some obvious use cases. And I'm not going to read this slide for you, but you know what we're talking about. These are the webcasts we're already giving, hundreds or thousands of them a year. And they're great, but they're low impact and they could be a lot better. Hey, look at marketing, public announcements. Talk to your marketing exec and ask him or her if he or she thinks it's a good idea to have a better connection with your potential clients and customers. I think it's a pretty easy call. Look at training and HR onboarding. Anytime you're dealing with education, anytime you're teaching, it can't be a one-way experience. Otherwise, we would just give kids books and tell them to go learn. There's a reason we sit in a class with them. It has to be back and forth. You have to see on their face that they're actually getting it. So let's wrap it all up. I told you I'd try to keep it short. So what did we learn today? Video conferencing traditionally has been very high impact, but unfortunately it hasn't scaled large. Webcasts, big scale, but missing that impact. So the new modern videocast, the way we want to do it, should have the best of both worlds. And we can do it now because the technology is flexible and reliable. And as a culture, we're a video culture. So it's time to stop being a horsey horseless and just cruise your car down the road. So thank you so much for sticking with me. We just have a little bit more to get through till we get to the fun part when I get to actually talk to you and try this out. I can't wait. But for more information on anything having to do with business video, please check me out at letsdovideo.com and sign up for our free newsletter. And now I'm going to hand off to Jeff Beckham from BlueJeans. He's going to help us out a little bit because we're using the BlueJeans Primetime platform right now. And he's going to explain to us why and how BlueJeans developed it and a little bit about how it works. So with that, thank you, Jeff. I'd like to turn it over to you.
Thank you, David, for the great talk. I'm Jeff Beckham. I'm a products marketing manager here at BlueJeans Network. In case you haven't heard of us, we've been in the video conferencing and collaboration space for about 5 years now, making a cloud video conferencing service for business. I wanted to pick up right where David left off with this idea that we're ready. The technology's there. Culturally, we're ready to go with video conferencing. And to add even one point on top of what David said, BlueJeans customers have over 70,000 video meetings per week on our service. That number has gone up every single week since our company was founded, and we expect it to continue to do so going into the future. But one thing that our customers were saying to us was that we love it how we can have these interactive, engaging, personal video meetings for our team meetings, one-on-one interviews. But then when it comes to company events with over 100 people or even 50, 75, we're still doing things the old way. We're using conference call-based solutions. Maybe we add some slides on top of that, or we're flying everyone out to a single location, and it's expensive. And at the end of the day, what everyone was using is either not engaging or it's too expensive and cumbersome. So we took on the challenge of trying to figure out how to use the video technology that we already have in place, but apply it effectively to an online events use case. First and foremost, there are some similarities in meetings and events. In either case, when they're online, you want to be able to join from anywhere and connect in a way that's convenient for you. If you're at the coffee shop, it's maybe on a laptop or a mobile phone. Maybe you're in a conference room like I am, but it needs to be convenient and fit your needs on the go. But then the similarities drop off a little bit. A meeting, like David showed, everyone's around a conference table on equal footing, able to talk at any time. On the other hand, town halls and larger events have dozens, hundreds, thousands of participants, and they really require some structure to be effective. And that's why you have a few presenters, like, for example, David, Garrett, and I are today, and then you have an audience that's out there listening. So with that as a backdrop, we started thinking, okay, what kind of features do we need to make an effective online events platform? Number one, complete control. To take the example of an awards show that I like to use, you have the bouncers, you have the ushers, you have the seat fillers, you have everyone there to help it run smoothly because it's high stakes. There's lots of people. It needs to stay under control. And then you have the presenter, the host, Kevin Hart or whoever it might be, talking, telling jokes, all that. And then you have the speakers who come up on stage, who present an award. And then there's the audience, of course, that's sitting there being the butt of jokes. But then when someone gets an award, they need to come up on stage. They need to talk. And then, of course, once they start droning on for too long, the music starts and they're urged to quickly get off stage. And I know it's not an exact business concept, but town halls and other business type events are very similar to this. And this is the kind of experience that we went about to try to create with our online events tool. And then lastly, of course, is it has to be easy to use. When you do things in person, logistically, it's challenging, it's expensive, and all this stuff that we talked about, all these features, they're useless if you can't make it easy. So we came to market with our product, BlueJeans Primetime, for interactive video events. I'll follow up with some additional materials on what it is. I'll deep dive into features and technical stuff if that's what you're interested in. But at a high level, we built this on the same cloud-based platform that we used for our Meet Me video meetings service. But this can reach up to 3,000 people. There can be up to 100 people at a time on video, like David and I are. And you can promote people to go live and have all those collaboration features like the content sharing, the video sharing. Taking more of a bird's eye view, those presenters, again, David and I and Garrett, for example, we're collaborating together in what's effectively a video conference, talking back and forth, collaborating, sharing slides. And then we're broadcasting this out to anyone who's listening, wherever they are, on any network. You could be at home, you could be at a coffee shop, you could be in your office or in a conference room. It doesn't matter. And there's these two distinct roles for a reason, because if you're in the audience, you just want to sit back and listen and hope that we have something interesting to say. But maybe at the end, you want to be seen and heard and ask a question, and we offer that capability to come live and do that. And then behind the scenes, we have someone on the BlueJeans side who's doing the moderating, who's making sure everything runs smoothly. You'll notice if you type a question into the chat, they'll answer that for you right away. When you want to set up an event, the first thing you got to do is to schedule it and invite people. We do our best to make that as easy as possible by giving you an online portal where you can go online, set up your event, schedule it, send out links to people, or even if you want to, once you're within the event, within the console, you can type in an email address or copy a link and send that out to somebody. Now, we talked about these three distinct roles already. There's the moderators, there's the presenters, there are the attendees. I'm showing you the moderator interface, which has all the bells and whistles. Things like starting and stopping the broadcast, starting and stopping the recording, the ability to mute anybody or see who's raising their hands and promote them live. The moderator needs all of these things to stay in control. I, on the other hand, as a presenter, don't have quite all these buttons because I don't need to do all that. I need to share content, I need to show my video, and be able to mute and unmute myself, but that's it. And then those of you at home will see something that looks even more sparse on the right side because you're just watching, and it's meant to be simple. But then if you elect to go live and participate, then you'll be transitioned to that presenter interface that has more things. We've talked a few times about this concept of raising your hand to go live. A little bit how the process works is, as an attendee, you see that hand icon in the upper right-hand side of your screen, and you would click that. And when you click that, that sends a request over to the moderator of the event, and they see that request, and they decide, should I approve this request and let this person go live and become interactive? And then if they say yes, you get pushed live, and then you're able to come on and talk on equal footing with David and I or whoever's talking and have a real conversation and ask a question. And at the end of the day, the idea behind interactive video events is that just because they're larger with more people, it doesn't mean we shouldn't have a real face-to-face conversation. The technology's there. If you're a business leader, an executive, you want to be able to talk to your employees, your most important assets, and engage with them. See if they're listening. Understand what their needs and questions are. And when someone asks you that question, who works in a remote office, you know them as a person, like David said. He wants to be known as David, not, oh, that guy that I heard his voice on the webcast. If you're a marketer, you want to be able to talk to your customers, face-to-face, engage them. And then if you're on the other side of things and receiving and watching, you have a voice. You may elect to sit there and watch, and that's perfectly fine. There's no problem with that at all. But if you want to be seen and heard and you want to engage, you have that opportunity, and maybe you shut down the Gmail, get off Amazon, because at the end of the day, we want to have a real conversation, and we want to be engaged in what we do. And we think that we've helped to accomplish that with our Primetime products. And that's the end of my presentation, but we do have a 14-day trial online. And if you'd like to get more information as well, in addition to the slides that we'll send out, you can go to bluejeans.com/primetime. Thank you so much. I think we're going to move to Q&A now.
Thanks so much, Jeff and David, for sharing your insights and expertise. We do certainly have a number of questions coming in from the audience, so we're going to get to those in just a second. One thing I did want to address that I failed to mention up front is that we will be sending out copies of the slides from today's presentations and the recording of today's events following the session, so everyone in the audience will receive that. So let's go ahead and jump into some questions here. We have a few folks that have raised their hand to come live, so we're going to start here with Vanessa. Vanessa has a question, so we're going to bring her live.
Hey, Vanessa, good to see you.
Hi, how are you, David?
Hey.
Well, thank you. This question is actually directed to you. You touched upon some use cases. besides the ones that you mentioned, what are some other non-traditional ways that you could see this type of technology coming into play?
No, actually, I think I'm going to pass off to Jeff on this one because there have been a few uses that BlueJeans has done that have been really cool. Jeff, do you want to talk about the Sundance thing?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, we as a company we went to the Sundance Film Festival, and we found ways to get people that actually weren't able to attend involved in the festival. As an example, we did an interactive panel where experts from the field, a collection of producers, marketers, online advertisers, came together and talked about how do we market videos and movies in the new world, and then that was streamed out from Park City, Utah, out to people that weren't able to attend. Also at Sundance, we did a movie preview. After every movie is released at Sundance, usually for the first time, the director, the producer, and some of the actors usually get up on stage. And there was one about the K through 12 education system, and they connected with other schools that weren't there and had a conversation with the students that were actually in the event, in the movie.
That's cool. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Vanessa, for that question. We're going to move on. We have Lauren in the audience had a question. Bring her in.
Hi there.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. So I have a question probably answered best by Jeff. It's really two questions. I really like that you can go live into the meeting and ask a question. How do you know when they're ready to ask a question or to go live? And can you check your video beforehand?
Yeah, that is super important, and I'm glad you brought that up. Of course, when you want to bring someone live, when it's an internal event, you know at least that they're an employee, but if it's an external event, you don't really necessarily have an idea who they are. Are they video ready? And so we actually have a cool green room feature that's being released in 2 weeks where you're able to do a video screen of the people coming live. So the moderator can then see them, check out what their connection quality is like, and decide whether they're video ready, so to speak.
That's great. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Next question is from Bill. Bring Bill in.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, David. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Hey, you discussed a lot about the evolution of video, from video conferencing in the workplace to now with Primetime and online interactive events. What's kind of the next big thing you see kind of evolving from the video space?
Well, what I see it, and it's a little off topic, but it's interesting. Video is being integrated into a new type of workspace. The way we used to use video conferencing traditionally has been for the weekly catch-up meeting. And everybody goes to the meeting room, and whoever can't make it to that room calls in, and we talk about the work we did last week and the work we're planning to do this week. And the fun thing is huddle room is the big buzzword. And the huddle rooms are fun because it's not just that we're democratizing it and we're taking it away from, we're not taking it away, but it's not just for the execs, it's for everybody to use. But what we're doing in these huddle rooms is so much fun and it's so much different. It's not the weekly catch-up meeting. It's a working session. We're bringing in whiteboards and collaborative tools, and we're sitting down and we're setting it up. And we're not just, I'll get back to you next week and show you what the spreadsheet looks like. We're bringing up the spreadsheet and we're working on it together. And video is a big part of that because not everyone is there all the time. So I think that's the next big thing in video is using it as part of a workflow as opposed to just a communications tool.
Great. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I'm going to take a question from the chat. This is from Matthew, and if Jeff and David, if you don't know this off the top of your head, maybe we can follow up with him post-event. But Matthew was wondering if you guys have anything to share about the growth stats of consumer usage of video, for example, FaceTime versus enterprise use of mobile video like Microsoft Link.
We could follow up on that. I know they're both growing. I know I follow mostly the enterprise, so I know the growth has been really good in the enterprise in the last few years, but I don't have the numbers off the top of my head.
Okay. Then we'll, Matt, we will try to follow up with you post-event with some more stats around your question. Thank you for asking that. I I think that is all we have time for today. I want to really thank David and Jeff again for joining us today and sharing, and thank everyone in the audience for attending. Really appreciate you joining us today. We hope it was useful and insightful, and we will follow up with the recording of the presentation, like I mentioned, and copies of their decks. So thank you so much for joining. Everyone have an excellent day.
Thank you.